Shabbat Shalom. A week ago, the world lost a musical legend and one of my personal favorite musicians and one of my heroes, Bob Weir. Born in San Francisco, Weir's life began with adoption and a childhood marked by severe undiagnosed dyslexia. School became quite difficult for him. He kept getting kicked out of one school, going to another, until he finally just dropped out at age 16. Music became the place where things finally began to make sense for him. Sparked by a family nanny who introduced him to jazz and helped him learn the trumpet, by age 13 he had found his way to the acoustic guitar, beginning a lifelong relationship with music. Weir was the youngest founding member of the Grateful Dead, originally named the Warlocks, surrounded by towering musical figures, especially that of Jerry Garcia. Weir's role was different than any other member in the band. He was not the flashiest soloist or the obvious frontman. Instead, he developed an unconventional rhythm guitar style that held the music together from within. No one could play the guitar quite like Bob Weir. What makes his story so powerful is that success never erased vulnerability. Even after decades on stage, 60 years of performing, Weir spoke openly about a crippling stage fright, describing the experience of walking onto the stage as feeling like, quote, walking into a torture chamber. The fear never disappeared, but he kept going on stage anyway to perform thousands and thousands of concerts. After Jerry Garcia's death in 1995, Weir could have stopped the music, but instead he continued on for another 30 years, carrying the music forward through new projects and collaborations, introducing the music of the Grateful Dead to new generations, myself included. Near the end of his life, he spoke of hoping that the music would live on for 300 years. I believe that's going to be true. There's no final curtain call here, it said in one of his obituaries. His love for the music and the community will not fade away. And that is the heart of a setback. Not that the path ends, but that it suddenly feels harder and harder to take that next step. That moment is exactly where we find Moses at the beginning of our Parashat Va'era. Moses is hesitant to continue his mission with God, working to redeem the people of Israel. We learn that God spoke to Moses saying, "Go and tell Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, to let the Israelites go." But Moses appealed to God saying, "The Israelites would not listen to me. How then should Pharaoh heed me, he who gets tongue-tied?" Moses expressed just last week that he had difficulty speaking, so why does he have to repeat himself? Moses seems to have stage fright, convinced that he's not the man for the job, terrified to confront Pharaoh and even his own people. Sforno, our Italian commentator, says that Moses does not know how to speak to people in authority because he lacks the physical ability to express himself. Moses says, according to Sforno, "I have therefore never even made the effort to develop the faculty to learn to speak to those in authority." Moses comes up with an excuse for his lack of persistence. We see him repeat that same claim at the end of chapter 6. Moses appealed to God saying, "See, I get tongue-tied. How then should Pharaoh heed me?" But God would not let Moses just give up. God replied to Moses saying, "See, I place you in the role of God to Pharaoh with your brother Aaron as your prophet. You shall repeat all that I command you, and your brother Aaron shall speak to Pharaoh to let the Israelites depart from this land. But I will harden Pharaoh's heart that I may multiply my signs and marvels in the land of Egypt. And when Pharaoh does not heed you, I will lay my hand upon Egypt and deliver my ranks, my people, the Israelites, from the land of Egypt with extraordinary chastisements. And the Egyptians shall know that I am God when I stretch out my hand over Egypt and bring out the Israelites from their midst. This Moses and Aaron did as God commanded them, and so they did. But throughout the rest of our parsha and even into next week, we follow a theme. Moses and Aaron ask Pharaoh to let the people go just to worship God in the wilderness. Just give us 3 days, Pharaoh. That's all we ask. Pharaoh says, not going to do it. God sends a plague. Pharaoh begs the plague to stop, and he'll let the people go. But then Pharaoh hardens his heart. We rinse and we repeat. Moses and Aaron could have just given up after Pharaoh hardened his heart the first time. But they kept coming back, refusing to give up 7 times in this parasha, 7 being a pretty important number in Judaism. They tried new techniques. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs of blessed memory taught, quote, there is an enduring message here. Leadership, even of the highest order, is often marked by failure. But then the climate changes. Eventually, it always does. And at such moments, our character is tested. The great human beings are not those who never fail. They are those who survive failure, who keep on going, who refuse to be defeated, who never give up or give in. They keep on trucking through life. They keep on trying. They learn from every mistake. They treat failure as a learning experience. And from every refusal to be defeated, they become stronger, wiser, and more determined. For Rabbi Sachs, failure is a part of learning to become a great leader. It helps us grow, it helps us build resilience and persevere. As Rabbi Nachman puts it, you should understand, therefore, that there is no barrier in the world that you cannot break if you want to. And as we learn from Proverbs, 7 times a righteous person falls and gets up, while the wicked are tripped by one misfortune. 7 times Moses and Aaron fail in this week's parsha, but next week they get up once again. In Musar, we call this trait Netzach, perseverance or endurance. Netzach is the spiritual muscle that allows us to get up on that 8th time. Not because we're confident that the 8th time will work. It takes 10 times for Moses and Aaron to succeed. But we get up because walking away would mean abandoning who we are and what our values are. Moses and Aaron harness this midah of Netzach, the ability to get back up no matter how many times Pharaoh hardens his heart. Now, there will be plenty of times in our lives where we fail, whether it's in school or work or family or friendships, and we have 2 options. One, we can let that misfortune keep us down, or we can get back up. We can rise to the occasion and we can try again. We, the Jewish people, would not be here today if it was not for our resilience and perseverance throughout these past 3,000 plus years. So how can all of us build the skills to be more resilient, to harness this midah of Netzach? First, we have to acknowledge and accept. We have to acknowledge our setbacks and accept that they are a natural part of life's journey. By embracing setbacks as opportunities for learning and growth, we can shift our perspective from one of defeat to one of empowerment. This is what Moses and Aaron did each time Pharaoh hardened his heart. Second, we should reflect and learn. We should take the time to reflect on the setback and analyze what went wrong. Identify the underlying factors that led to that setback and extract valuable lessons from the experience. Use this reflection as a foundation for making informed decisions as we move forward. Third, we adjust and we adapt. Once we have gained these insights, it's essential to adapt our strategies and make necessary adjustments. Moses and Aaron reflected on their setbacks. They learned what did not work. Okay, if blood's not going to work, maybe frogs, maybe lice, maybe hail. Right? They made a new plan. Fourth, and probably most important, we don't have to do this alone. Moses needed his brother Aaron. We need people in our lives who help us speak when our own voices falter. Resilience is communal. Ask for help. Accept the support. And finally, we can persevere. If we get through those first 4 layers, we can harness Netzach. We can persevere, we can overcome the obstacles of life, but we must remember our goals and our purpose, and most importantly, we must be kind to ourselves. This Shabbat, may we learn like Moshe and like Bob Weir to keep returning even when fear and failure whisper that we should just stop. As the Grateful Dead remind us, if you get confused, listen to the music play. May we stay connected to what gives our lives meaning, and may we keep moving forward. And may we have the strength of Netzach to fall and to rise and to try again. Shabbat Shalom. Continue now.